An age ago, the beating heart of our people was a king who knew only victory. He wanted nothing more than an honorable death on the battlefield. Yet, none could match him, and so he wandered the earth, becoming lost in time and tide. Then we too lost our honest purpose, while silk-clad men sat upon the throne. But tremble now, all cities that lay under the stars, for out of the shadows and mists of the land of promise, our courage has been rekindled, our heart has returned, and the world will burn.
All right, how's everybody doing tonight? I see John's in the chat saying he stayed up a little bit late so he could say hello. How you doing, John? I wish that you could stay up a little later, but I know you got a lot of work to do. So I am trying to play around with some of the things for the background. Hopefully this is working out for everybody so you can see me. I'm supposed to be in the bottom left-hand corner so I can show you some great art with what is going to be happening with CROM the Destroyer. I'm just going to put on a slideshow in the background right now, but I will have some new art to show everybody in a little bit. So tonight we have 9 days left until the opening of CROM the Destroyer. So we're going to open on the Friday, which is the last day of this month, the 30th of June, so that we can be open for the July the 4th weekend. And hopefully everybody can come on over and take a look at my campaign, and we'll try to get everything going smooth as silk this time. Hopefully no Indiegogo shadow bans for my campaign. I'm going to see if I can get around that. Have a little idea. You know, it's always best not to break the rules, but you know, there is ways that you can use technology. It's not breaking the rules. It's just working with the system and trying to, you know, finagle a couple of extra things out of it that, you know, sometimes people just don't think about. I don't want to do anything to Indiegogo that shouldn't be done, but at the same time, you got to push the boundaries for what is possible with the campaign. And hopefully I'm going to do that so that we can avoid any kind of shadow banning this time. And as I said, we're going to go live on the 30th, which is next Friday, not this Friday coming, but the next Friday. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about stretch goals for CROM the Destroyer. If anybody has any questions about CROM the Destroyer or any of my other graphic novels, which would be Thomas Valiant, my published graphic novel, or the Valiant Heroes, which has an Indiegogo campaign up right now and is still in demand. And just again, I always have to do this. Someone just shout out to me in the comments. Let me know that you can hear me, because I'm always afraid that I'm going to do the stupid again of talking for way too long without anybody being able to hear me. So I think I got everything this time. We're not muted. We're broadcasting. So there we go. All right, George says, not breaking the rules. Uh, you're seeing how far they can bend. Well, even that, I'm just, I like to think of it as I will use the rules in a creative way, because again, I'm not even bending the rules. I'm just looking at the rules as they are. And I'm saying, hey, you know, if I use this rule with that rule, maybe something different can happen. But anyways, so everybody can hear me fine. Great. John, thanks for being here. Anybody who wants to have a look at some good old comics, just a showcase channel, go over to John's Long Box. He does showcases of great old comics, give you some nostalgia and some idea of what good comics are supposed to be. But back to CROM the Destroyer. Audio is good, great. So I'm thinking about stretch goals, not stretch goals, well, sort of stretch goals, but perks more right now before we start getting to the stretch goals, because I'm still putting up the Crown the Destroyer page on Indiegogo, and putting up the perks. And so I'm going to give you the basic of what is available and what I'm going to try to get available. There are a few little things that, unfortunately, with Indiegogo, if you don't have, let's say, the art or anything ready for some perks, you can't change it once you go live in the little box where it shows you what you can order. Unfortunately, you can change it in the main body. So that's what happened with my first campaign with Thomas Valiant. I had a little bit of a problem there just because my art wasn't done to the extent that I could put it in with all the thumbnails for the perks. But anyways, so of course there will be the graphic novel, which we're looking at a minimum of 64 pages right now. Be probably more 66 pages. I got 3 chapters, which are 22 pages each. So I guess that'd be 60. No, so anyways, we got the 3 chapters of CROM the Destroyer. And after that, we're looking at possibly some stretch goals to add pages, to add a small backup story to it. That will be one of the stretch goals. It will probably be a fairly high stretch goal. We'll see. I don't even know what's going to happen with this campaign at all. With Thomas Valiant, we took off, and I just had to keep on making up stretch goals because we almost hit 50,000 on the main campaign itself. So I didn't never expected that in my wildest dreams. And thank everyone profusely for buying Thomas Valiant when they did. With the Valiant Heroes, it was quite the opposite. I was ready for stretch goals up to a certain dollar amount, and they never really materialized because we only made about 20,000. So for this one, I guess I'm going to hedge my bets, and I'm going to put in a couple of stretch goals for the early stuff, and I won't have anything, we'll say, what's the word, ostentatious, anything too frou-frou in the early ones that I'm going to list on the campaign page. Hopefully we're going to get a big opening on the first day, the first weekend anyways, so we'll be adding stretch goals fairly quickly. But like I said, if we make a bunch of money, we're going to be adding pages to the book, a separate backup story. And the thing is that with the perks itself, again, there is the book that's going to be available, but I'm also going to do, and I still have to talk to my printer about this, but I'm going to do an art book, which is basically the exact same as the normal graphic novel. However, it will be published in a magazine format. So if you're looking at the main book itself, which is colored, it will be in a comic format, something like Conan the Barbarian, that you get from Marvel Comics, whereas the black and white edition will be in a magazine format like the Savage Sword of Conan. And it will be exclusively black and white. And I'm playing with the idea of not even including the inking for the art itself, so that you can see just even the rough penciling for the black and white. So it will be an art book, not just a black and white book. So that's what we're hoping to do. Again, I got to talk to my printer a couple more times with that, so that there will be 2 copies of the book available. Again, one with the inking and the coloring, the other, the art book with just the beautiful, spectacular art by both Jim O'Reilly and Nick Axe. So I think it will probably have the same cover. I don't think we'll have a separate cover for that, but I don't know. Maybe we'll put that up as a stretch goal. Anybody want a separate cover for the magazine, which is the art book? Let me know in the comments. And again, you have any questions about CROM the Destroyer or any of my graphic novels, put them in the comments. I'm trying to stay on track here, so I'm trying to avert my eyes from the comments right now. But I will get to your question if you're asking questions in the chat. So the main book, and then the black and white art book. Also, there are a number of posters that are going to be with the campaign as well that you can buy. There is, of course, the reason why you should be signing up early for CROM the Destroyer on the sign up page. Link in the description for the sign up page for CROM the Destroyer. But if you sign up early, you got 9 days left. I'll be sending you a reminder email as soon as we go live on the 30th. And I will also get I also have, I guess I won't be getting it. I have it done. I have a picture, a exclusive pinup poster for anybody who signs up early and then orders something from the campaign. So it's going to be exclusive. That is to say, only people who sign up early will be getting this poster. Again, it's a pinup poster. It will not be available for purchase on the campaign itself. And as I said, it's an original piece, and only available through signing up early. So link is in the description for signing up early for CROM the Destroyer. But for the other posters, of course, we have a number of great pinup posters. Some of them that you're seeing in the background right now. There is the Jim O'Reilly, just basically character art for. Let's see if I can find if this is working correctly so you can see me and um, everything else at the same time. Let's see if I have any of this in. No, I don't have it in the standalone art to show you right now. It'll be, however, in the uh, the whatever the showcase that I'm doing right now. So it's the demon woman that's standing there, and also the fellow with the flaming sword. Those two will be offered as pinup posters. However, also what I what I'm trying to do again, I have to get a hold of my printer and talk to him a little bit more about this. But I had such a great experience with doing the cards for Thomas Valiant. It was one of the biggest sellers, and it really surprised me that everybody wanted those cards as much as they did. They were great cards done by Jim O'Reilly, who is the main artist on this book. For chapter 1, you're looking at most of his art there in most of what you see here. But again, what I'm thinking to do with those two pictures specifically is to offer them as an oversized card. So it won't be anything near the size of a trading card, but it will be the same card stock that I used for the trading cards in Thomas Valiant. And so it will just be, I think, the size of a comic book. So not as big as the pinup poster, but it will be something that you could put in with your book in your Mylar bag or whatever else you use for protecting your comics, and it can go right into your long box so that it's not going to stick out like a sore thumb and have to find some place to put it, even though it will be beautiful. See this picture right here of the demon woman? That will be one of them. But it will be available so that it's at the right size. You can put it away if you want, or put it on your wall if you want, frame it if you want. I don't care. But again, the point being that it will be a heavy card stock that it will be printed on. That again, have to talk to my printer about that, but I don't see any problem with getting that done. And that's just for the two character, as far as I know right now, just for those two characters, the demon woman and the barbarian with the flaming sword. So there's those 4 perks. So again, because those two pictures will be offered as posters themselves, which are larger, and then as the oversized cards, which will be the size of a normal comic book. Also, I need to get my butt in gear and get the map done. Now, here's the thing why I'm doing this stream. Partly, I want to get your ideas about what to put up for the perks for CROM the Destroyer, because the map, I was originally going to offer it simply as a pinup poster like I did with the map for Thomas Valiant. However, I'm thinking more now that if it is possible, and again, been talking to my printer, it seems possible that we can print it on a background that is cloth. So it will be a cloth map that will be available so that you can order it from the campaign. It, of course, will be a little bit more expensive than if I printed it simply as a poster, but I think that might be something much more, I don't know, in tune with the fantasy art style and the book and everything else we're going with, old school, low fantasy here. If you could get a cloth map of the area, basically where this story takes place, I think that would be something that people would love. Again, tell me in the comments if I'm off base with that, if you would rather it as a poster as opposed to a cloth map. But I would think a cloth map would be something spectacular. Again, Still talking to my printer about all of these things, but this is the plan. And again, we have to have a couple more meetings about what is possible and what isn't, and the colors that are needed for printing on cloth. So those are the main um, perks for CROM the Destroyer. What you can get with the book, with the art book, because I think I'll put up perks that will be available so you can buy the main book itself, and then you can go and buy all the other smaller things, like the posters and the map and the oversized cards and all that, with the book itself, or you can buy it with the magazine itself, which will be the art book, which is just a black and white version of the main book, so that you don't have to buy both of them at the same time. You can buy one or the other. However, if you want to buy both, you could go right ahead and do so. So we're going to see how this is going to work. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of people excited about this book, and we're gonna do well. I think just there are so many people who seem to be moving towards a more fantasy and low fantasy. I did a video about it probably about a month ago. I think people are moving more towards that right now. Everybody's getting a little bit sick of superheroes, even though I think superheroes is still a mainstay and I'll keep on coming back to them. But at the same time, I think that people are getting a little bit sick of all the superheroes that are being shoved in their faces. So if we want to take a break from that every once in a while and do some of this fantasy, which again is basically something that will be like Marvel's Conan, in the fact that it will be available for everybody. It's not going to be a mature audience. It's going to be accessible to everyone, even though it's going to be really good, grounded, low fantasy. And at the same time, um, it is something again that I think is needed. I think there's too much of a niche out there in a lot of the books that are being put out, especially by Comicsgate and everybody else. If you go onto Kickstarter, I don't know why everybody must make their campaigns for mature audiences only. I think that we need to, if we want to generate audiences, make sure that younger people can read these books as well. There's not going to be any future in these books or our ability to make them if we don't appeal to a younger audience as well. And I don't see any problem with that at all. I can appeal to an older audience with sword and sorcery and a younger audience and allow them to actually read the book so that, their mother's not going to rip it out of their hands or anything like that. So anyways, I've been talking for about 20 minutes already about the perks for CROM the Destroyer. If I think I got them all so far. We might be coming up. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to go back and think. But if I think of one while I'm talking or answering any questions, I'll let you know, certainly. And I do want to show you some new art for CROM the Destroyer. In the background, I have a way to show it to you today, that I've been talking about for the last 2 weeks that I've been trying to show. Let's see if I got any questions in the chat here before I move on to talk about the art. Let's see if I have any questions. Everybody's just saying hi, which is great. John was there and then he left. Again, go over to John's Long Box if you want to see a channel with a good showcase of old comics. Let's see. Raymond says, let's see what you're saying here, Raymond. Oh, sorry. Random. Random? Okay. Sorry. Don't have my glasses on. Maybe use the artist pick for the art book cover. Well, that's an idea. A lot of people are thinking that the page one is actually the cover, but it's not. So we could do something like that again, because what we have for the artist is we have two artists right now. There's Jim O'Reilly, and then there's Nick Axe. Nick Axe did the cover. Jim O'Reilly's doing chapter 1. Nick Axe is doing chapter 2, and we're going to see who's going to do chapter 3. It's just going to determine what the flow is like when we get to that stage. But of course, Mike Gustovich is doing the inking for it. Mike Gustovich being an old Marvel and DC hand. He also wrote his own indie comics back in the 80s with Justice Machine. and a couple of other titles, but he's inked and penciled superhero comics, and he's done inking for what is it, Marvel's Conan the King. Yes, Conan the King. It was what he did. He also did some Thor, I think, or at the very least, did Thor in some of the Avengers books, and some Hulk, and some Batman, and a whole bunch of things. He did actually do pencils for Batman as well at one point. So, anyways, so I got Mike doing the inking for the book. So he's going to tie it together with the inking. So there's going to be more than one penciler. So, but that's, I think, why I want to offer the black and white book as pencils only, so you can see the difference in the art, because they're two extreme beautiful pieces and artists even by themselves. So yeah, but we could use that. Yes, what people would see as the best of the art for the cover, it could be, since it is an art piece. Let's see. Gordon Goodbrother says, let's see, Gordon, what do you have here for a question? I don't have a preference, but I know printing on cloth will require more quality control than paper. Okay, that's good to know. Again, I'll have to talk to my printer a little more. Let's see. I'm going to put up something else. Just 1 second in the background before I move on to the art. I just want um, to answer the questions right up until we get to the end of our comments for today. Again, I'll be answering more questions later, but I just want to get to the end right now. Da-da-da-da-da. Gordon says diversity in audience is what we need for content. Yes. Let's see. Uh, George says, I just want good art and good story. Unlike today's mainstream comics, where they just get a good artist to do the cover, but then have terrible art for interior and bad writing. Well, I can't speak to the writer of this book since that's me. I have a unique style of my own, and I try to learn from the greats. And all I did when writing this story was, well, actually, when working on the campaign, not when I'm writing specifically, but it's just go back and listen to Robert E. Howard stories, because over at the Cybrarian, there's plenty of YouTube channels where you can do this, but I went over to the Cybrarian. He does really good readings of what are now in Europe, because I think he's in Ireland, public domain stories. So he has those, and Cull and Solomon Kane and things like that. So, I get into the mindset of writing in that style. I very much like to learn the style of old writers, and then, make it my own if possible. But again, good story. Hopefully, I'll give you that good story. But I can tell you right now, the art is spectacular. I wanted to talk about the art today, and that's one of the things I wanted to say. You know, if we really want top notch art, and I got top notch artists on this book, both Jim O'Reilly and Nick Axe are top notch artists. But at the same time, um, you got to pay top notch artists top notch money to get their work from them. And that's what hopefully, I can offer these beautiful artists. But at the same time, that means that that threshold for what we have to make to actually make the book profitable is going to be higher. So hopefully, everybody who wants that top notch art and top notch storytelling and a top notch graphic novel, comic, magazine, anything like this, for either superheroes or low fantasy, whatever it is I'm doing, hopefully you can back my campaign, so that we can actually give these artists enough money to live off of, enough money to grow, enough money so that they can come back time and again and produce these wonderful pieces of art for the entire book. Because Gordon, yes, Nick Axe does do the cover, and again, Jim O'Reilly does the first chapter, but Nick Axe comes right back in at chapter 2, and he does some of the penciling there as well. So you're getting beautiful art. There we are right now. There is also another pinup poster which is done by Henry Martinez. I do, if I remember his name correctly. Henry again worked for Marvel at one point. He did pencils and possibly inking, but at the very least pencils for Ghost Rider at one point during the 90s, during the gritty 90s. So he does the poster, which is the one with the harpies in the background. He did that one as well. That will be available as a pinup poster. And also, I forgot the headshot of King, which is our main character, as a poster, but as a wanted poster. Or some such thing. So it's such a great piece done by Jim O'Reilly. So yes, yes, Gordon, I want to give you that beautiful art and great story, and it's going to be from cover to cover. So that's exactly what I plan to do. I was it was something that really ticked me off as a kid, just grabbing a book because it had beautiful art like Barry Windsor Smith or somebody on the cover, and then you open it up and it's just awful art on the inside. And if anything, Marvel has just gone into that sinkhole and will never get out of it because it was a bait and switch back in the 80s and the 90s, and sometimes you got there and sometimes you didn't with the art, but now it's just totally bait and switch. They're just selling you a cover and that's it. And the stuff inside is horrific. Someone who was a variant artist for the new Red Sonja, which is coming out, I think, probably on the first week of July, the first Wednesday of July. I think it's coming out, or maybe the second. Anyways, sometime in July, they posted one of their exclusive covers for the new Dynamite, which you can only get if you order so many, and it's going to be, like a collector's item, so called. And they posted it on Twitter, and I just said, listen, why would anyone want to buy just this piece of art? I mean, on a book. That's ridiculous. If you're going to do that, it doesn't make sense to collect comics if you're going to do that. If all you want is that one piece of art, save your money, stop buying these comics, and go with all that saved money, buy yourself a printer and just print the stupid thing off and make yourself a poster. Because honestly, you're just going to get something that's probably superior quality than what's being printed by comics right now, comic industry. And at the same time, you don't support these garbage comics. So yeah, fully in support of everything you say there, George. Let's see if we have anything else. Anyone else? I think Gordon has a question here. Oops. Sorry about that, Gordon. I put you up and took you down. Will the book be square bound or able to be read flattened like a magazine? Well, here's the thing. Again, great question. Thank you, Gordon. Um, if you have, if you got Thomas Valiant, it's going to be the same print quality as Thomas Valiant was, which is to say, it is square bound. However, my printer has a way of printing the book, which allows it to be both square bound and it is openable so that you're not breaking the stupid thing when you're actually reading the book. So if you know the quality of Thomas Valiant #1, it's going to be that same quality, which is square bound for CROM the Destroyer. Like I said, it has that. I've never seen any other printer do this. I mean, I haven't worked with a whole bunch of printers, but I mean, I've never seen any other book or any other printer do this for a book. So again, it allows you to open up the book and read it without having to tear it open, and because it's going to be a fairly large book. But at the same time, the magazine, I'm not entirely sure about the magazine. Again, I got to get back to my printer about that. I'm hoping that it will be again the exact same thing that you would get within a Savage Sword of Conan, which is a very large magazine, not square bound, so that you can open it up and quite honestly, if you want to tear it apart and put some of the stuff up as posters, you can go right ahead and do that because there's going to be some spectacular art there. So that is my intention with the art book, because it is going to be a larger book. Again, the size of a magazine, that is the size that you would get for magazine bags that you can get at your comic store, that you would find Conan's Savage Sword of Conan, that size. So it would be a little bit bigger. So we should be able to accommodate that with the magazine quality. Let's see, scrolling down. Da, 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 da. George has an interesting question here. That guy looks like a cross between an Aztec warrior and a Greek hoplite commander. Yes, actually, that is the headdress for the helmet that the Greek warrior is wearing is an actual Spartan helmet. I did a lot of research that I then shipped off to Jim for Jim O'Reilly, my artist for book one. I gave him every one of these specialized characters a look, and I gave him historical references for each one of them. Each one of them has a historical reference, and that is an actual helmet from a Greek warrior. So it is a Spartan warrior, actually. Again, not in the book, but the original, the piece that is, I think, available on view in one of the museums in Greece. But anyways, yes, indeed, it is a beautiful, beautiful piece that that Jim put together for that character. He did that for all the characters, by the way. I gave him all of these references, and he went to town with it. Let's see. Scrolling down, see if we have any questions here. Da, 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 da. Oh, scrolling down. Let's see. George is talking about, let's see. I just want to read this actually, even though it might not be a question. I remember when London Night Studios put out a for all ages and a mature book. I look back on it and I look back on it and back when Marvel comics were $1, you would spend $1 more just for the mature version. Yeah, I can remember when Marvel comics were less than $1. Yeah, that was one of the things when it went over $1. That really ticked me off. That was a long time ago. All right, so scrolling down, let's see if there are any other questions. Scrolling down. George, let's see here. Again, I have to put this up on screen so I can read the entire thing without squinting too much. I know my dad collects all the Warlord of Mars comics, and the cover is done by Perello, a great artist, but the interior art looks like a guy who does Dilbert. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing about some of the comics. Again, I am trying to, at the very least, trying to match the quality for the covers and inside and out. Like in Thomas Valiant, I had Nick Axe do the cover for that, and then I had Renzo Rodriguez do the interiors with the Valiant Heroes. Again, we have a different artist, but then we have different artists in the book itself. We have Martin Stevenson doing the Valiant Heroes, Renzo Rodriguez doing the Redemption of Kit Fox, and we have Mike Gustovich, which I just talked about. He's actually doing the Rampaging Thor. So an old hand at doing pencils. So he's, like I said, I think he started with Marvel and DC in the early 80s. So yeah, spectacular art. So I just tried to put the same quality of art on the cover as you would get in the book, but with this one, it's with CROM itself, with Nick Axe doing the cover. He's also doing chapter 2, so you're getting that artist for the cover and the interiors as well, even though we have Jim O'Reilly doing chapter 1. We're doing that, and I'm doing that, by the way, with the 2 artists because I want to get these books out faster. I'm not trying to do a bait and switch with anybody. I'm trying to make sure that my artists are on the same level. If they're not on the same level, sometimes, unfortunately, that might happen. It's not going to happen with CROM the Destroyer, I can tell you that right now, because they're beautiful artists both. But if it ever does happen in any of my books, then it's not going to be someone I'm going to bring back. But again, that's going to be determined by the audience and whether or not that kind of art is going to be lapped up by the audience or just booed, because it's all about the audience and what they want. So again, let's see here. Oh, I forgot to. Okay, let's break off just for a minute and I'll show you some of this new art that has not been posted anywhere. Well, actually, I did post some of it on Twitter, but not all of it. And hopefully you can see it in the background. Okay, so I'll answer the rest of the questions in the chat in a few minutes, but I want to show everybody some more of this spectacular art. Now, if I can get, some of these might not fit exactly on here. Okay, so this is Jim O'Reilly, but it's not going to show the entire thing. So let's move on to a smaller version of this, of mostly the page. Nope, again, that's cut off. Okay, what I'm going to have to do is I'll scroll through a couple more of these, first of all, and we'll see if we can, now most of these are getting cut off by the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up in a slideshow in the background so that these will cycle through this new art, and I'll talk about them individually. Okay, so here we go. Here we have Jim O'Reilly's pencils. These are all pencils. Okay, they haven't been inked yet. This is a pencil for the main character in the battle scene, which again, page 1, battle scene, that's what you're going to get. You start off just you start off running with my books so that you go right into the action. And most of, well, at the very least, half of the first chapter is all battle scene. Here is a piece from the second chapter. This is of course, Nick Axe doing the pencils for the second chapter with the demon woman. There, and everyone is really liking this piece on Twitter. Just let me show you. There's another one here as well. But again, you'll see the difference in the styles of these two artists, but at the same time, you can see just how beautiful both of these artists are, even though their styles are different from each other. And of course, here's the full page from Jim O'Reilly, which is, well, actually, it's not the full page. It's 3/4 of the page. The bottom 3 panels are not shown here, and it gives you in the right bottom is the picture of King, which I already showed you, and you see a little bit more of the action here going on. Because again, this is probably, I think, page 12 or so. So, you're still in the middle of a battle here, starting out from page 1. Again, we're switching back here. This is Nick Axe, and you have the Demon Woman. This is one of the new panels that he just gave me the other day. This is extraordinarily beautiful. I'll tell you right now. And again, this is what the difference is going to be between the black and white art version and the colored inked version, because the colored inked version is going to be inked by Mike Gustovich. So he's going to tie the two styles together with his inking style. So again, and we have another one here from Nick Axe. Again, beautiful, beautiful art. Yes, these are panels from the book. This is not a showpiece. These are not going to be posters. These are panels from the book itself. So again, you're looking at spectacular work done by these two artists. And again, the reason why I'm using two artists is because we need to start turning these books out faster. And, Jim just can't do that much art in the time that it will be necessary to get it out there. Here's another one from Nick Axe. Again, there's the Demon Woman. This is the first couple of pages of chapter 2. And again, people are just lapping this one up on Twitter. This is really, really beautiful art. Again, some people were saying to me, are you going to get the beautiful woman, the beautiful women that you get within the normal sort of Conan the Barbarian for Marvel or any of the other comics that you would find? I say, yeah, you're going to get those beautiful women. They're going to be in there. And again, back to Jim O'Reilly here with the battle scene from chapter 1. Again, we have I was just talking about the Greek warrior, how he was patterned off of historical references. Here we have a Persian warrior, again, complete references from history. This is what I gave to Jim in order to create those pieces. So let's see. I'll read that. I'll put that up one more time. Let's put this small slideshow up of this beautiful, beautiful art. And again, this is what, let's see what quality you're going to get for art within this book. This is, again, most people are telling me, page 1, how is this page 1? How is this not the cover? Because that's the quality of art for page 1, again, which is where King is riding the horse and he has his axe in his hand. That's the quality you're going to get in internal art for this book. So anyways, I'm going to scroll down and see if I have any more questions to answer. Let's see here, scrolling down. Traditional pencils. I don't actually know how the pencilers are working. I don't poke my nose into what they're doing for pencils, but I can tell you right now that Mike Gustovich, who is doing the inking, is a traditional inker. What he does is he waits for me to email him a copy of the pages so that he can have them as quickly as possible. He goes and gets the penciled pages printed off, and then he inks them with ink and brush. So yeah, he does traditional inking. With quite honestly, he does the entire thing by hand. He said, "I'm so excited when we started to do the oh, what was it? The inking for this book. I guess it was because he was just doing the pencils for the Thor book, which is the Rampaging Thor, which is part of the campaign for the Valiant Heroes. But he said, I went out and bought new brushes. I was so excited to ink this stuff. So yeah, he is traditional. Let me tell you, it's just it gives it again. I love this art for both Nick X and Jim O'Reilly, but the thing that works better, and this is why I wanted to make the art book a bigger book so that you can see more of the detail. But again, you lose a lot of the detail, and I found that out with Renzo's work for Thomas Valiant. You lose so much of the detail of some of this great art when you take everything and you put it into the size of a comic book. But at the same time, when you do a separate inker, which I'm doing with Mike, you get to see that detail because he knows. Again, he's been inking for what, like 40 years now, so he knows exactly what's going to show up on a page and how much detail he needs to put into it. And at the same time, he gives you just enough so that it's going to pop out a little bit more than it would if you just reduced it in size and made it a panel in a normal size comic. So again, he's a consummate perfectionist and just professional, and it's beautiful stuff, and he gives it that edge that you would want to have within a Conan or fantasy like Conan story, those kinds of things, because again, he did work on Conan the King, for crying out loud, with Marvel Comics. So he gives you that edge with the inking that you would normally want to see, and it's a thing to behold again. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to get within the internals. Let's see if we have, oops, let's see, hide Gordon's question, see if we have any more questions. Let's see, people talking to each other in the chat, which is great. Thomas is here. He says, let me put you up on the screen there, Thomas. Sorry I'm late. You may have already tackled this. Was wondering what the extent of technology exists in the world in the world I'm creating. Is there gunpowder, clockwork machines, etc.? Okay, that's a really good question. So here's the thing with my universe, Thomas. We have Thomas Valiant, and it's going to be the main book. It's going, again, it came out in 2000. What was it, anyways? Was it 2022 that it came out? I can't even remember, but it says 2021 on the cover because there's a timeline. So we're going according to timelines, because again, we can switch back to, let me just re-up this this art again so you can see this spectacular black and white art. But again, the timeline for what you're going to see in CROM the Destroyer again is thousands and thousands of years ago. But the books that are set in basically the present day is going to have technology that is comparable to our own. But at the same time, I'm not going to do the Marvel and DC thing where there's so much technology that it is almost magic. So I'm not doing that. There is basically a part of the storyline, which I won't be getting into very heavily for about 3 books from now, if I can still be publishing these things in about 3 books from now. It explains a lot of the interaction with the technology and how the world is slightly different than our own. So yeah, they have comparable technology to what we have, sometimes less, sometimes more, but nothing that's going to be so out in left field that you're going to think of it as magic. It's going to be something that's down to earth enough so that everyone can interact with it and understand what's going on. So again, I always write that way. I don't know why. When I wrote my novel, it was the exact same thing. I wrote my novel, which is sort of not really a dystopian future, because it's more of it's hard to say because I didn't really think of it in that terms when I wrote the manuscript for it. Again, it's just a manuscript right now, if I can get it published somewhere. But anyways, it's more of an alternate history because even though it's set in our world and that something that looks like the future, it doesn't. They don't have any more technology than we have right now, and sometimes they have less technology than we have right now. So again, I always find that with the advancements in technology, it makes things a lot more difficult to write a traditional story because it just cuts off so many avenues. So you have to have a little bit of play with technology. So that's a little bit different than what we have in our normal everyday life here, and that keeps changing all the time. But at the same time, it's not going to be anything that's out there in the world. I'll give you an example here. I'll show you in the background if I can if I can put up a picture from. All right, I'm just going to have to stop the slideshow for a second. And okay, here we have an idea of what I'm talking about with the technology. Just to answer the question, you have this is a panel from one of the newer panels from the Valiant Heroes, which is the redemption of Kit Fox story. That's why you have see Silver Fox around here. So Kit Fox is basically kind of a combination of, well, in the way that he operates, anyways, something like the Shadow plus Batman plus Sherlock Holmes. So I have this kind of shadow technology with he has a bunch of informants all around the city and the neighboring city, so they offer him information, but in order to keep that information coming to him, they use again technology that is based more towards what you would see out of the old Shadow. I don't know. You'd see it in the Shadow movie, but again, in the Shadow stories and things like that, in all those books. So you still do use that old technology because that technology is something that in this world needs to have some kind of backup. You know, you don't want to be putting everything out on the radio waves there. It makes no sense to have a superhero team and they're using radio waves that can just be hacked by anybody and they can tell exactly what you're going to do so they know where you're coming from. So anyways, excuse me, that was a really good question. Let me put up the black and white art in the background one more time. Excuse me, just 1 second. All right, so I'm going back to the comments, see if we can get, let's see. Uh, oh, thank you very much. Thomas says, nice Easter eggs in the Kit Fox page. That would be Renzo. Renzo loves to put in these little Easter eggs. He just puts them everywhere. And I have no problem with this. I like to leave my artists some room so that they can actually, you know, do their own flair. Sometimes I just tell them, listen, Renzo, go to town, put in whatever you want in the background and all these kinds of things. That happened with the vault scene for Thomas Valiant #1, where they go into the vault, which is basically a weapons vault. Renzo just decided, okay, I gave him a couple of ideas, and he said, yeah, let's put in some other things here. And there's some interesting things in the background if you have Thomas Valiant #1. So, anyways, scrolling down, I think we're getting to the end of the chat here. Yes, I have. He does look like Kit Fox does look like a combination of Batman and Wolverine in his appearance. He does. That was because, of course, uh, as I always have been saying over the last couple of weeks and over my live streams, I had Renzo. We took the idea of Amalgam Universe from Marvel and DC being squished together in about 1996, and my original thought was, okay, what if those universes never came apart and it's now 40 years later or more than 40 years? No, not quite. 30 years later, I guess, whatever the time factor is. But it's a generation later. These worlds have never come apart, and those heroes are now since retired, and we now have new heroes stepping up. So, what would the world look like? And as I started to reinvigorate the story as to what the world would look like, then I went back and wrote the first part of it, so it's not Marvel and DC anymore. It's my own world. But yeah, that was the cue I took for Kit Fox, was that combination character of Batman and Wolverine from Amalgam, which I can't remember, it was like Dark Claw or something like that, which I think was written by Chuck Dixon. Not entirely sure off the top of my head. Which, I've talked to Chuck, and I asked him if he wanted to do anything with me. He said, "Listen, I got so much stuff on the go, and I need to really have passion for a character in order for me to continue to do it." So anyway, um, but yeah, that was the original cue for that character, because Kit Fox was supposed to be a throwaway character, which was a semi-villain in Thomas Valiant #1. But at the same time, Renzo loves Batman and Robin. He just That's the comics he loved as a kid. So he said, please, please, can we redeem this character? And that's where we came up with the redemption of Kit Fox, because we're trying to redeem this character who was sliding into villainy. So we are redeeming him within these stories, because that's what Renzo wanted to do. So let's see. Let's see. Scrolling down. Robert, I am right there with you. He says, now I want to watch Conan. So do I. I want to watch Conan. But I don't know. It's probably on YouTube. But I usually only use physical media. I I kick myself because there was a store. What was it, like Best Buy or something, in the town where I was a couple of years ago? Probably no, probably about 10 years ago, where they sold all of these old movies, and I just never bought any, thinking that that always be there, because I like physical media, and they're just gone now. And the only place I can find them is like yard sales and thrift shops and things like that. But anyways, yeah, I want to go back and watch Conan as well. If I'm sure that once I find it and I purchase it, I'm going to watch it over and over and over again. However, I did reread I think it's, let me think, who is the original author for, I think it's Conan, no, it's the second Conan movie, which is Conan the Destroyer, which was written by Robert Jordan. So I went back and reread that while I was, preparing for this book. I'm a big Robert Jordan fan from the first early days of Wheel of Time. I was one of the people who picked that up off the shelf when it first came out. So, it was a great book. Unfortunately, seems to be, I don't know, a lot of people are telling me, I don't know this personally, but going downhill with what they're putting on I don't know where it is, Netflix or wherever it is, it's on a streaming service somewhere. Hopefully, I wish that story well. But anyways, so let's see, scrolling down. Uh, da, 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 da. Thomas says, is Crom ruled more by his passions or his intellect? Well, again, I explained this last week, but it bears explaining again. Here's the catch 22 with the character for Crom the Destroyer. He starts off as a king. And if you watched the trailer at the first of this video, or any of my trailers that I put up, they're usually at the end of every video I have right now. And it talks about the king and how he is going to basically come back and punish his enemies and all this kinds of thing. But anyways, he starts off as a king, but it eventually ends up that because he's become a civilized person, and he's an extremely well fought tactician, someone who has spent his entire life just on the battlefield. So, I don't think you could separate the two. His passion and his intellect work together as the general on the battlefield and as the lone warrior on the battlefield. But at the same time, the story follows the fact that he comes into he's basically a barbarian character, because again, what I'm trying to do is to take the original source material that Robert E. Howard used to create Conan the Barbarian and create a similar character from that source material, possibly using a couple of different additions to the Celtic myth that he used as well. A couple of additions would probably be Oisin, son of Fionn, and possibly Lou of the Long Hand. That is to say, those are inspirations for this character, but I don't know if Robert E. Howard used those. But I also used Connor Moore, which I know he used. But anyways, so to recreate this character, so he begins barbaric, and that's in a time before this book, and he becomes a civilized man, and he becomes a king. But at the same time, that the slipping of his kingdom and the warfare brings him into a position where he's going to lose everything unless he can revert to that barbaric state once again, in order to defend properly what is his, and what he has a duty to defend. So it's again, it's a catch 22, and it's very much written in that way, that the fact is that he longs for the civilization, not for himself, but for his kingdom and for his people. And the thing is that it starts to fade. And in order for him to take up the mantle and the position of champion for his people to ensure that some kind of civilization will reign, he needs to be a barbaric individual. So that's the catch 22. So again, there is a very much a balance I'm trying to find between passion and intellect with this character. So great question. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to do with the writing for this character. Let's see. Scrolling down, and I think I've gotten to the bottom of the chat. So again, I'll just go over a couple of things, and I'll play the trailer one more time, or the second trailer actually, at the end of this video. Oh, I should put that art up. I'll put the colored art up just one more time here. But again, we are opening in 9 days. I guess might be 8 days, depending on where you are in the world now, which would be the 30th of June. And so not very far away. If you haven't signed up yet on the early bird page for CROM the Destroyer, the link for that is in the description. If you sign up, you will be given a email when the project goes live so that you know, and it's a reminder so that you know, and you can be there just with bells on to get CROM the Destroyer. And oh, I should hide that. 1 second. I should hide that comment. 1 second. And at the same time, you will be getting with your order a free exclusive pinup poster, which is original art done specifically for this poster. And the only way that you can get it is through signing up early, and that's it. So if you haven't signed up early, go to the description of this video and you can get the link for the sign up page that is for CROM the Destroyer. Again, we're opening up in 9 days from now on the 30th. So we will be open for that long weekend for the 4th of July. And hopefully we're going to get a big opening. So if we can, the bigger opening that we can have, the more likely it is that this campaign is going to do well. Usually with my campaigns, if I look at the material that is presented to me by the analysis from Indiegogo, I have a huge opening usually, and then it dies down severely, and it doesn't ramp up again until the very last days. More people than at the first day. So it's the beginning and the ending, but the beginning and having people really purchase there in the beginning is what drives the campaign and what drives interest in the campaign for people who are just running across it, people who are just finding out about it, people who are just finding out about me and the work that I do when they're coming across it and it's the middle of the campaign. They'll look at how much money I've made and they'll say, yeah, people want this. I got to look into this. So again, the more it can make on those first couple of days, the more it's going to make, and the more it is going to make, the more you get with your book. Because again, we're going to have stretch goals, and again, those stretch goals, once we get up there on a above basically the nut for what we need to actually cover all the expenses, that we will be adding some pages on as well. So again, you'll get a larger book, you'll get more perks, you'll get extra things with your order, the more that we can draw into this campaign. So again, I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be one heck of an opening. I think that I'm going to be going live on Michael Bancroft's live stream on the night of the opening, although I'll probably be doing a live stream of my own at some point as well, probably that night. I might be doing a couple of live streams next week, not just the normal Wednesday one. So if anybody's looking for that, I might be doing a bunch of them next week just to get a little more hype up for CROM the Destroyer. All right, so I'm just going to scroll down a little more, see if there's anything else. Gordon says, I tried to sign up more than once, but you can only sign up once. That's very good. Thank you, Gordon. All right. So I am going to, as I said, just end off here with, because we are just hitting our hour right in 30 seconds. I only like to usually go for an hour, and it seems like we're getting a little less traction than we normally do, probably because Rini is over there streaming I think, with someone else right now. But I'm going to play the second trailer for CROM the Destroyer, and that will be it for me for the day. I want to thank everyone for showing up, and again, thank everyone that's helping promote CROM the Destroyer by putting it out there in the social media. Thank you very much to everyone, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's live stream and on that opening day for CROM the Destroyer. All right, I'll see you all later, and here is the second trailer for CROM the Destroyer.
No matter how many wars you fight, no matter how much blood you shed, no matter how much rage you loose, no matter how many demons you face, no matter how many companions you lose, no matter if our kingdom falls, I know that you will return to me in honor.